People who have been on the deep web, what's the scariest thing you found? I remember a long time ago there was a guy online that was trying to buy large quantities of bed bugs. When questioned why he wanted them, he basically said that he wanted to try to breed them to be resistant to normal methods of killing them while simultaneously breeding in a weakness that only he knew. This way he could release them in people's houses and then force them to pay him to get rid of the bed bugs since no one else would be able to kill them. My own password found a chan that had a link to a website that when you put in an email address, it would show you the password in plain text if that email address had been pwnet. Typed in one of my old emails, and there it was. Just a blank page with my email address and password on it, sitting right there for anybody to find. A friend of mine claims he was snooping around where he didn't belong when someone private messaged him basically saying, "I've looked into you because I see you in here a lot and I know you're not here to buy or use the services because you're just a kid. I don't mind, but others will, and you haven't protected yourself well enough to be here. Get off if you know what's good for you." Well, when I visited, I mostly visited the hacking, cybersecurity part. Interesting to see how people go about hacking various things and really educational. Anyway, the scariest was a hacking advertising a service where he was willing to upload child porn onto someone's computer and report him to the police as a form of taking someone out. Well, actually, the scariest part was discovering that there were at least 2 people in the chat room that I was in discussing about kernel security who had used that service. I decided to stick to more regular forums afterwards. Someone asked this question a while ago. One single reply stood out to me. They were a blogger for dark web stuff and actually met the king of the pedo empire. I forgot the guy's name, he was like a 22-year-old Australian or something. Anywho, she said the scariest thing about him wasn't his appearance, it's how absolutely normal he looked. This was a kid who single-handedly ran the biggest underground kid porn operation, and he looked like a regular Starbucks customer. IPARAPHRASED. But this should sound familiar to a bunch of you. The case was interesting because the kid argued that he himself never actually harmed or filmed any children being harmed, and never sexually touched or sexually filmed any child himself. Look up stuff about Daisy's destruction if you're more curious. I haven't and heard it's pretty gruesome, but that Google should put you on the right track to learn more about the story. Response to this story. A few months ago I wrote about the apparent overrepresentation of Australians in all things dark web. This blog touches on that too, but you won't find me smug and vaguely proud about it. 4 Australians have now been jailed for the roles they played in relation to a series of sites on the dark web. This is the abyss, the cesspool, the darkest part of the dark web. Looking for the darker dark web. The ISIS Red Room hoax spawned several articles examining the motivations behind people who post a constant barrage of requests on Reddit, 4chan, and similar fora asking where find the really dark stuff on the dark web. Well, you can stop looking. Yesterday I sat in court as a young man. Matthew David Graham pleaded guilty to 13 charges relating to running the dark web child abuse empire he ran under the name of Lux. The sites he ran included pedophilia-related wiki, chat, video streaming, and image upload services. But it was the site known as Hertzik and Core that was his most popular and active. Hertzik and Core is part of a subgenre of pedophilia abuse materials known as Hurtcore. Hurtcore is just what it sounds like, hardcore hurt inflicted on innocent children. Even most pedophiles recoil from it. The child's pain is not a byproduct of sexual contact. It is deliberately inflicted, recorded, and posted for the gratification of Hurtcore enthusiasts. Matthew Graham was the 3rd Australian to be jailed as a result of Task Force Astrea, which worked to shut down the Hurtcore sites. Others included Adelaide childcare worker Shannon McCool, also known as Ski and owner of the Love Zone. He sexually abused 7 children in his care and uploaded the videos. Another Melbourne man, who I can't name because it would reveal the identity of the victim of his most heinous crimes, who was a relative, was jailed earlier this year. Among other things, he made his 9-year-old victim hold up a sign with a shout-out to Lux, a twisted farewell when Lux announced he was closing Hertzik and Core last year. I first came across Hertzik and Core when I was researching the book Silk Road. It was one of those places you click on and then just nope the fuck out of there. It's not like a person could stumble into a Hurtcore site and not realize what was behind the registration page. If the name itself wasn't enough to tip you off, the pre-registration agreement left little to the imagination. Hurt to the Core is a forum dedicated to open discussion and images sharing. This is a censorship-free forum, and thus all topics are allowed here. This means we accept both the child love and Hurtcore aspects of pedophilia. If you do not agree with that or are easily offended, then this is not the place for you. Otherwise, welcome to H2TC. H2TC didn't just provide a space to chat and share whatever videos and images people had. Lux provided advice on cleaning metadata from videos and disposal of bodies. There were sections of the site dedicated to renting or buying orphan children for sex. The site actively commissioned new videos tailored for specific tastes. Lux boasted to Patrick O'Neill in an interview in 2013 that H2TC averaged 326 new accounts and around 160 posts every day. He claimed to be getting around 15,000 video downloads daily. Discussions on the website revealed a depth of depravity rarely encountered, producing kiddie porn for dummies, toddler child porn star, 3 men and a baby, butchered bitches, young'uns bound, crying rape, neat ideas for blackmailed girl, 15. Those who created original material for the site were rewarded with access to an exclusive part of the site, the producer's lounge, a sort of hardcore green room. The most notorious producer was the man who created the series Daisy's Destruction. We later found out this was yet another Australian, Peter Scully. Daisy's Destruction. Even prior to any arrests, Daisy's Destruction had moved into dark web lore. A mythology had risen around it spurred by rumor, whispers, and misinformation. Not content with the fact that a video of torture of a toddler had gone what passes for viral on the dark web, those dedicated to finding the darkest parts of the dark web spread exaggerated half-truths. Creepypasta whispers insisted a child was murdered on the film. Stills from the old guinea pig movies started circulating with claims they were photos of Daisy post-mutilation. People swore they had a friend who wound up in a mental institution of fur watching it, so depraved were the acts depicted. YouTuber Takedownman, who specializes in posting videos about the dark web that mix a little fact with a whole lot of fiction, created a video where he purported to show screenshots of a site called Daisy's Destruction Shop where customers could purchase stills from the film. The site was later shown to have been created by Takedownman himself. Vile and disturbing as the series was, it was not snuff. People conflated two stories about Scully. He created Daisy's Destruction, a series of 4 films which depicted rape and torture of several young girls. He was also arrested for murder of a child whose body was found in his house. However, toddler Daisy was found to be alive and put into care, as were other children in the videos. The deceased girl's murder may have been filmed, but no evidence has surfaced that this was the case. Lux. Matthew Graham was supposed to attend Melbourne Magistrates Court at 9:15 a.m. by video conference from the remand centre that is holding him. However, his lawyer advised the court he had complained that the room wasn't private enough and he was afraid of other prisoners overhearing his charges. He wanted to come to court. When he finally arrived at 4 p.m., it was to an almost empty courtroom. A reporter from The Age who had been following the story, the informant, the prosecutor, his defense lawyer, and me. He's 22, but looks younger. Skinny and nerdy, he hasn't yet grown out of the acne phase. He looked around the bare courtroom, giving a bright, expectant smile, like he hoped to make a new friend, to anyone whose eye he managed to catch. The magistrate got one, as did his lawyer, and so did I as I openly gawped at him. It's not every day you are in the same room as a bona fide monster. When O'Neill interviewed him in 2013, he described Lux as one of the most influential people in dark web peddling. He prevaricated over whether he should interview him at all, but decided it was in the public interest. The reader doesn't need me moralizing to them to come to their own conclusions on a subject like this. O'Neill told me over email, so instead I tried to talk calmly to Lux and get as much information as possible from him as an objective third party. This is a world where interviews are exceedingly rare, so the vast majority of what you hear comes out in either indictments or from unreliable rumor. You almost never hear from the actors themselves while they're free, especially one so influential as Lux was for a time. Until a few months ago, I only knew of Lux through O'Neill's interview and whispers and rumors on dark web forums, where the general consensus was revulsion. But mostly, he was so other, hardcore, so evil, that we tried not to talk about him at all. So coming face to face with this simple kid who looked around the courtroom with a kind of bemused interest in the proceedings was jarring. Shouldn't he be grotesque and deformed or something? Shouldn't there be some sort of outward appearance that betrayed he was the kind of child man who facilitated some of the most heinous crimes even hardened, experienced detectives had ever encountered? Well, he didn't look like a monster. There was nothing particularly off about him. He could walk among us and we would never suspect. In fact, he seems to be one of those instantly forgettable people. He doesn't seem like the brightest spark in the box either, apparently trying to convince police that he set up Herzog and Core as a honeypot to catch child abusers. They weren't buying it. The darkest dark web. I can't imagine anything darker than the sites these men have been jailed for running, using, and contributing to. Yet still the questions persist. Where's the really dark stuff? What else will I find on the dark web if I go digging? Still, some people don't find made-to-order torture of a toddler bad enough and create even more evil adjuncts to the video for a good story or a few extra YouTube hits. As for me, I live in hope that we have gone as dark as it goes.